It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update, as we look at whether Kenny Omega is set to challenge for yet another title belt, and is Daniel Bryan set to join the WWE Hall of Fame this year. All that and more coming up in today's video, but first, the winner of the New Japan Cup 2021 has been crowned, with Will Ospreay defeating Shingo Takagi in last night's final to win the tournament for the first time. This now means he will go on to face Kota Ibushi for the new IWGP World Heavyweight title at Sakura Genesis on April 4th. After the match, Ospreay went on to say that he has dominated the heavyweight division of New Japan and called out the champion. Ibushi made his way to the ring before Ospreay told him that he would do anything to take the belt away from him. Ospreay then shocked the crowd by laying out his own girlfriend Bea Priestley with a cutter before stating that winning the IWGP World Heavyweight title meant more to him than he and Priestley's relationship, and if he could do that to somebody he loved, imagine what he could do to Ibushi. In 2016, popular WWE superstar Daniel Bryan was forced to retire due to concussion-related issues. In a recent interview with Bleacher Report, Bryan spoke of a particular match that inspired him, changing his mindset to push for a return to the ring. Bryan told Bleacher Report, "It was really hard for me to watch other people do what I love up close and not be able to do it. The worst one was when I had to sit ringside for a Dean Ambrose versus AJ Styles match, and that was the one that broke me. AJ and I at that point hadn't fought. He hadn't come to WWE before I retired. Seeing those guys out there and they're both great, I was like, man, I should be in there doing this with these guys. It really ate me up. And when I came home, I think Bree saw a different person as far as striving to prove. Because that was the thing. I had to prove that I was healthy as opposed to them trying to prove I shouldn't be able to wrestle. Given the circumstances, that was the absolute right route they should have taken." Following his retirement, Bryan was of course eventually cleared to compete in March 2018, and in this interview he confirmed that WWE goes through a strict protocol with him after every match to make sure that he is healthy. We have some more Daniel Bryan related news coming up a little bit later on, so make sure you stay tuned for that. On the latest episode of his podcast Grilling JR, AEW commentator Jim Ross spoke of the finish to the AEW Revolution pay-per-view, which saw the now infamous botched explosion close the show. Ross spoke of the incident and how the stunt had been tested multiple times during the day, and said, "It bombed. It was a malfunction of the pyro. The irony of that was they had all the fire marshals and safety precautions and so forth. They had run through that several times. The explosions, they worked great. Then when it comes to showtime, you never know when you're doing live television. I thought the show was strong except for the miss on the pyro at the end. All of the stuff leading up to that I thought was strong. I enjoyed the pay-per-view. I think it did record business." Ross went on to discuss the disappointment on the talent's behalf that things didn't go to plan and added, "I know the talents were because I talked to them very frustrated. They worked their asses off to get pricked with barbed wire from head to toe, and so now all we're talking about was not their work, not their effort, not what they put their bodies through. The malfunctioning pyro becomes the story. To me, that pay-per-view was much more than just the gimmick at the end." Whilst I agree with Jim's sentiments that their work shouldn't be overshadowed, it's sadly human nature to remember the finish. Let's look at Game of Thrones for example, one of the most popular series of all time. Then the final season happened and it's not remembered quite as fondly as it once was. To keep things positive, let me know what your favourite part of the AEW Revolution pay-per-view was down in the comments below. Personally, I loved the deathmatch itself up until the very end. The story of Eddie Kingston coming out to save his old friend Moxley following their previous feud was excellent storytelling on AEW's part, and it's a damn shame that it didn't go to plan. On March 16th, AEW filed for a brand new trademark in relation to the new stable led by MJF. The term Pinnacle has now been registered for use in professional wrestling by All Elite Wrestling. This follows MJF and Wardlow turning on the Inner Circle to align with Tully Blanchard, FTR and Shawn Spears to form a Four Horsemen inspired group. The word pinnacle is described in the dictionary as the highest point attained or attainable, which is a very fitting name for the group who see themselves as the very best. Official merchandise is also available on Shop AEW for the new faction, which shows off the new name underneath a mountain, which is now their new logo. In a recent interview with Muscle Man Malcolm, NWA champion Nick Aldis was asked about a potential matchup with the self-proclaimed belt collector Kenny Omega, who currently holds the AEW World Championship and the AAA Mega Championship. Kenny is also set to take on the Impact Unified World Champion Rich Swann next month at Impact's Rebellion pay-per-view. Aldis had some fighting words for Kenny, implying that no belt comes close to the 10 pounds of gold, and said, "You can have as many belts as you want, but there is only one 10 pounds of gold. It would be interesting as incentive to humiliate these stans that are praising him as the savior of wrestling. I hold the championship that has been held by Harley Race, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair. What do I need to prove to anyone? He has a 2-year-old belt, very shiny and ostentatious. I'm sure it would look nice in a hip hop video from the early 2000s. Maybe Cisco, a tricked out lowrider. If the fans want to see it, you can let whoever know. If they put the right number of zeros on the contract, we'll make it happen." It's possible that the match could take place eventually, with AEW and NWA having worked together since the start of the pandemic. And before we continue, if you're enjoying the video, make sure you drop a like down below as it helps me out a lot. And why not subscribe as we head towards 10,000 subscribers. But let's get back to the video. Aldis also took part in the All In show, which was the precursor to AEW, losing his NWA World Championship to Cody Rhodes before winning it back shortly after. In order for the Aldis Omega match to be considered, the Englishman must first go through Aaron Stevens at NWA Back for the Attack, which goes down tonight. The show is available through our FITE affiliate link in the description if you're interested in checking it out. And finally, let's end with another rare WWE story on the channel to finish the video. This weekend, WWE may have leaked a current active wrestler as an upcoming Hall of Fame inductee. The WWE Network added a category titled "This is Daniel Bryan," which had the subtitle "WWE 2021 Hall of Fame Inductee." This could well have been an error as the text has now been removed, although this could well have been an actual leak of information that is yet to be announced. Tonight's Fastlane pay-per-view will feature Bryan challenging for the WWE Universal Championship in a match with the champion Roman Reigns, with Edge as the special ringside enforcer. It's possible an announcement of the induction could be imminent, with Bryan joining Molly Holly and Eric Bischoff in the 2021 class as the headliner this year. The ceremony is set to take place on April 6th during WrestleMania week. If this is in fact a leak, Daniel Bryan is fully deserving of the honor and will go down in history as one of the most popular stars of the modern era. I do have my doubts, however, since Daniel Bryan is still very much part of the active roster, with inductions usually reserved for retired wrestlers. There has been exceptions to the rule, however, with Goldberg still competing part-time after being inducted in 2018. Edge is also active in the Hall of Fame, although he was believed to have been fully retired at the time of his induction. Perhaps this signifies Bryan's transition to a part-time schedule, but we will just have to wait and see.